Now, controlling Europe and weakening Russia was just the first stage. The real target is China. China is too big and competitive to destroy. The goal is to control it. By cutting off their most vital fuel sources, the United States want to force China to buy American oil and gas. This guarantees the dollar's survival and makes China dependent on Washington. This also makes it more difficult in the long term to fully de-dollarize, and it weakens BRICS, the Belt and Road Initiative, and the idea of a multipolar world. China receives around 1/3 of its oil from Venezuela, Russia, and Iran combined. Beijing considers these countries not just to be sources of oil, but strategic partners. In the last 90 days alone, the United States proceeded to target all 3 of those lifelines with increasing escalation. First, the United States deployed a fleet to the Caribbean under the pretext of fighting narcotics. They then kidnapped President Maduro and seized Venezuela's oil, the largest oil fields in the world.
Between Venezuela and us, we have 62% of the world's oil.
80% of Venezuela's oil exports used to go to China. This accounted for 4% of China's oil imports, specifically the heavy crude that China's teapot refineries require in order to make the diesel that is used for China's high-tech industries. Russia provides 17% of China's total oil imports. While some of it is piped, most of it reaches China by sea. This includes the heavy medium Urals blend that China's teapot refineries also run on. Despite the extensive pipe network on land, most of this is shipped via Russia's western ports in the Baltic Sea. The US knew that China would immediately look to Russia to replace that oil, so they moved that same fleet to the North Atlantic in order to cut them off. As a matter of fact, during the last months, the United States and their allies began systematically hunting down Russian oil and gas ships, not just in the North Atlantic, but across the entire planet. Particularly after the war in Iran began, we've seen an uptick in Russian tankers and LNG ships being blown up or pirated all the way from the Caribbean to the North Atlantic, to the Mediterranean, to the Black Sea, Baltic Sea. This explains why Donald Trump wants Greenland and Canada so much, and why the Royal Navy deployed a carrier strike group just last month to the Greenland-Iceland-UK corridor.
Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland.
The goal is to target Russian tankers and fuel ships and corner them in the Baltic and the Arctic corridor before they're even able to leave. During the last weeks, we haven't just seen the largest amount of attacks on Russian ships, but also on Russian refineries and export hubs, including Russia's 3 primary Western export hubs and several of their top refineries. As a result, around 40% of Russia's seaborne oil export capacity had been disabled. That's the most severe oil disruption in modern Russian history. While these strikes were officially claimed by Ukraine, they could have only been carried out with US backing, permission, and equipment. The United States are clearly establishing a massive global oil blockade against Russia and China. The reason the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor was precisely because the United States imposed an oil embargo on them. Russia and China are much more powerful than Japan was at the time, so I wouldn't be so quick to dismiss the possibility of this potentially turning into an actual world war if it continues to escalate.